Hi, I'm Barbara Kris.
And I'm Clarissa,
We're two friends, entrepreneurs, and experts in our field.
joining forces and talking all about life, business, tools for success, and more.
So, without further ado, here's to Dope Women. Hello, and welcome to episode 15 of Here's to Dope Women. Oh my gosh, I can't believe we did this. I'm Barbara Kris. I'm joined here by my beautiful co host, Miss Clarissa.
Hello.
And today we are talking about finding your purpose, or maybe even kind of taking a relaxed look at your purpose and not pushing so hard. I don't know. Does that make any sense? I don't want to like totally get, so technical with this topic because both Clarissa and I, we have our stories to share about our purpose, what it took for us to find our purpose, the fact that our purpose kind of evolves and it changes. So we want to have like a casual conversation today about purpose and to kind of help you find yours. I don't know.
Yeah.
How does that sound? Sound like fun, right?
It does. It does. Because I think a lot of people, maybe they're not just sitting there and going, I really need to find my purpose. But I feel like so many people are feeling very lost, especially with COVID, right? I feel like we just lived through a pandemic, and
Yeah.
so many people had to make huge shifts in their business or huge
Mhm.
shifts in their careers. Some people quit. It's especially doing hair. A lot of hairstylists actually stopped doing hair, because we are non-essential. I think we are personally.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, I think
but
so.
yeah. Yeah. So, I think that it's something that, a lot of people think about all the time of like, what do I do? What do I
Mm,
need to do? And they're sitting there really trying to find their purpose, but really it's just about living your life, I think, and really just, finding yourself. I think you really
mhm.
have to find yourself first.
I love that. In fact, you made a good comment, especially in response to the whole pandemic, that how so many people had to pivot, and it left so many people just feeling like, just kind of like up in the air with things like, oh my God, like what do I do now? And it's hard to feel like you can take the luxury of taking a step back and trying to find yourself when you've got responsibilities and bills and all these things, and you're like, I can't even think about what my purpose is. But now, let's say some years later, when people are starting to get back on their feet and things are, for the most part, starting to stabilize, and people are like, so now what? What I was doing even 5 years ago it's really doesn't even resonate with me anymore. What about now? And it was interesting because I had it was on Monday, it was earlier this week, it was on Monday. And I was, working with my small group coaching ladies that I have. And one of my ladies in there, she kind of shared, she goes, she's just sometimes like lately, I just have been feeling like I really don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, I just feel like I don't want to even she didn't use the word passion, but basically it was like the just desire. Like she just really didn't have the desire anymore to kind of do some of the things that she was doing. And she made a comment about, I think I just need to either reconnect or just find my real purpose. And I thought, oh man, I was like, if she only knew that we were planning this episode, right?
Right.
But that whole thing about having to pivot and then people feeling just lost, it makes sense, like you said, that it's really us turning in and connecting with like ourselves to really find that. I don't
Mhm.
know.
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of people, struggle with it, or a lot of people end up chasing after something that really doesn't actually align with them and their values and what they, believe. Especially, I feel like, I don't know how it is like in other parts of the country, but I feel like even just in California in general, maybe just Southern
Yes.
California or being so close to LA, it is such
Hmm.
a fast-paced lifestyle,
Mm.
right? Where like you're getting up, you're going to work and you're doing this and you're doing that, and everybody's driving super fast. And it's just like, okay, I think
Right.
everybody really just needs to just take a second and calm down. And you know what I mean? Like a lot, I even try and find that I've been dealing with that for the last couple of weeks where I feel like there's not enough hours in the day and I'm just like
Oh.
constant, like go, 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 go.
Hmm.
And even though I am living in my purpose, I'm doing what I love to do. A lot of people are feeling so lost and a lot of people are having such a hard time trying to find their passion and their purpose in
Mm,
life, and it's leaving them feeling so lost. And then they end up, like I said, going after things that they're not actually wanting to do, whether
mhm,
it's from our parents or, society's, views on what you feel like you should be doing. A lot of people
mm,
end up going after something and then realizing that, oh, that's not actually what I really wanted to do. And it's
mhm.
it's it's almost like you're in a canoe, right? And you're just rowing, right?
Yeah,
And you're rowing and you're rowing and you're rowing and you're not realizing that you're going, against the current, and you're not
yeah,
actually going anywhere, you know?
yeah. You
So
just,
and you're just running after roadblock after roadblock, or you're
mm.
hitting all these walls of like, oh, never mind, this is actually not really what I wanted to do. I didn't realize that this was going to be this way.
Mm. It was interesting. I heard this it was a conversation. It was actually a podcast, and it's slipping my memory right now as far as who it was. But they were talking about purpose and the fact that it really takes us to look at purpose in a new way. They're basically talking about how purpose isn't a person, it isn't a thing, it isn't a place that we need to find, right? As far as finding our purpose, it's really it's energy. And they talk about how your body doesn't lie. Like if you were to, just as an example, if you were to think about, let's say, classes to take, to learn something new, and maybe it's painting class, or maybe it's a cooking class, or maybe it's, you know, like, I don't know, learning the great outdoors or something like that, right? Like when you start thinking about or open to, learning more about yourself, like where you want to develop, or things you might want to, take up, like your body doesn't lie. When your body, when you feel like amped up about something, it's almost like, think about the last time that you got so energized by, maybe it was something you were doing, or somewhere you were, or people you were with, maybe, like, as far as, maybe there was like an activity that you were doing, something that just amped you up. There's something in there, that energy doesn't lie, and that's maybe indicative of kind of where your purpose lies, maybe in that general area. um I don't know, maybe like with you, you can even share, like, because you talked about how, with you, that you feel like you live in your purpose, and you have, like, the things that you do day in and day out, it feels like, you're purpose driven. I mean, does that something that just sort of like landed on your lap, or was it something that sort of developed?
I mean, I think it was something that I just it actually kind of it kind of just came to me a little bit,
Hmm.
because how I actually started doing hair was, I was always kind of doing people's hair like in my bathroom, right? Like my mom and my friends,
Hmm.
and so I remember I did these highlights on one of my friends, and it was like, this was such a long time ago, but I did these like red highlights in in my friend's hair, like in my bathroom. And I remember like trying to put the foil in, and then
No way.
trying to
Oh.
like, it was so hard to do, right? And
Uh-huh.
and then like we just did it, and then it actually came out looking really good. But
Uh-huh.
I was never cutting anybody's hair at that point, because I'm like, I'm not gonna,
Or perm,
um
you didn't perm hair?
no, definitely not. I wasn't trying to like mess up someone's hair. I was just trying to do a little something different, right?
Yeah.
And I remember she went to this, really like well-known stylist, in the area. And he was
Mm.
like, "Oh, your color looks really good. Who did it?" And she was like, "Oh, my friend did it, just like in her bathroom." And he was,
No way.
yeah. And he was like, "Oh, is she a stylist? Like, is she a licensed stylist?" And she goes, "No, we were just doing it."
I
And
didn't know that.
yeah. And I remember I had started going to him too. I just got the referral to go to him because I wanted to start going back blonde or something.
Hmm.
And I was, anyways, when he was talking to her, he said, "Well, she did a really good job. She should consider being a hairstylist." And I was like,
Hmm.
wow, like to me, that was like a big compliment, because he's, like I
Yeah.
said, he owned a really big salon in the area. And so when I had started going to him, he kind of almost convinced me to go. And that next time that they had started, taking students, is I signed up and I started going. But a
Oh
lot of
my
people,
God.
they end up going to beauty school because they're creative and they like doing stuff, but they like doing hair, they like doing makeup or whatever it is, but a lot of people actually don't end up doing it for a living.
Hmm.
So it was really, it kind of just like came to me because to me, I had no idea what I wanted to do. And I remember, I think I was 24 when I graduated and I got my license. And I said, I want to get my license. I want to graduate. Or I want to graduate, I want to get my license, and I want to start working in a salon by the time I turn 24. Well, I got my license, and a month later I started working in a salon. And I think it was like the next week I was turning 24. So that was like a goal of mine, but
Yeah.
it kind of just fell on me a little bit. It's definitely a struggle when you're in the beauty industry. When you're first starting off, you're not making a whole lot of money. So I
Yeah.
definitely didn't go into doing hair for the money,
Mm.
because it's like pretty well known that like you're not really making a whole lot of money as a hairstylist. Definitely now with having more higher price services and doing the balayage and the specialty type of colors, you're definitely making more money for sure. So there's stylists that are making six figures easily.
Yeah.
So but back then when you're just doing like a partial highlight, whatever, and
Right.
charging $145 and it's taking you 2 hours to do, at the end of the day, you're really actually not making a whole lot of money.
Right.
So, I really think that if you're really trying to find your purpose and you're chasing after something just for the money, like, oh, I want to go and be a
Mm.
dentist. I remember I thought for some reason, I wanted to be a dental hygienist because I heard that they made a lot of money,
Well, I mean, I think a lot of people would think like that, right? It's like, well,
right?
where's the money? I mean, let me go after the money
Yeah. But then
before
I'm like,
actually what I hate the hell, hate the hell out of what I'm doing though,
yeah, like why would I want to be in people's mouths? That's disgusting to me, But then other people are like, ew, what? Like, ew, like I have hair on me. I remember a girl in beauty school. She was like, I guess she had done a client and then she was on a break and she was like, ugh, oh my gosh, I have hair on me. And I was like,
Oh,
girl, you're in the wrong industry.
you're gonna have a lot of hair on you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So then would you say, like back to that comment that I said I listened to where they were talking about how that really passion isn't so much like you said, like going after and pursuing a thing. It's really an energy and getting in touch with that energy. And that's how you really can start to find what that is for you. Did you find, and maybe you didn't even realize it then, but did you now in hindsight look back and feel like, yeah, there was definitely energy there when it came to, let's say, whether it was hair and kind of like that industry?
I mean, I definitely I think that it's like I didn't really fall in love with the process, right?
Mhm.
Like if I'm sitting there and I'm like foiling someone's hair or if I'm like applying color, I don't find joy in that. I find joy in my client's face after they see their hair.
Oh yeah.
It's that
Yes.
feeling when I look at them and they're looking in the mirror and they're clearly more confident and they're smiling and it's almost like that end goal of just seeing that
Yes.
person walk out of the salon and they just have a little bit of a pep in their step.
Yes.
That to me is my passion is seeing that. It's not, I
Oh,
mean, yeah, I'm a very creative person and I love like formulating colors and I love seeing the end result. But to me, my real passion is actually building confidence in women.
yes.
Is that self confidence and their physical appearance creates their
Mm.
confidence in themselves. Because to me, if I feel like I look good, I feel good about myself and I do better during the day.
Yeah.
Um, so definitely, I feel that, like you said, like in your body, like it gives me that amazing feeling in my body when I see that confidence in someone. So to me, like
Mm.
my passion is that. I actually wrote down an amazing quote by well, I remember Jay Shetty had said it, but I don't remember if it was like quoted by someone.
Yeah.
But he said, don't measure your passion by how something sounds in your head. Measure your passion by how it feels in your body.
Oh, I see. Yes, that's
That's a good
amazing.
one.
It's so true.
Yeah. And so for me, that's what I feel in my body when I see someone,
Mhm.
how they feel about their hair is
Right.
that's definitely, I'm like, this is why I do what I do,
Right. So we could
um,
end the episode like right now. Just
right.
because I mean, I think that's so spot on because I do think that there's this misconception out there about purpose, and that somehow it's like a thing that we do, or it's like something that we have to find. And,
Yeah.
when really it's inside us, and like our bodies don't lie when we start connecting with that, and how you respond and how you feel like when you're standing there in your purpose, and you just helped your client, you just did a service on them, and you see how they're reacting and how they feel and how they're loving, what they look like with their like almost immediate transformation type thing. I can totally
Yeah.
relate to that in working with women and helping them, lose weight and get healthier. It's like the technical stuff, yeah, that's cool that we can do that. We have this amazing, I call it like our zone of genius. Like you have your zone of genius, I have my zone of genius. But it's almost addicting when I see just women, I don't know, like they're empowered, and they see things like, or they start to believe in themselves, and you can see their confidence building, and like, oh hell yeah, I can do this. That is amazing. And for me, it's the
Yeah.
same thing. Yeah.
I was just going to ask you that, like how, I mean, I'm sure when you're working with your clients and
Hmm.
they're seeing the results and they're feeling more
Hmm.
confident. I mean, is obviously like you got to love the process of it too, right?
Hmm.
I mean, working with your clients
Yeah.
and kind of customize, I know you kind of customize your how do I say, like you kind of customize it to them, right? Because everybody's
Yeah. Hmm.
different.
Hmm.
So I mean, where do you kind of feel like how did you kind of discover your passion and your
Ooh.
purpose with what you do?
Oh man. Oh gosh. That's a good question. How did I discover my purpose? My purpose evolved. And in fact, I think that I'm a case study in thinking that your purpose is a thing, and then watching it evolve into something else. Because, coming from aerospace. So, for people who don't know, I worked in aerospace for almost 20 years. That was literally from, went from high school, college, got my master's degree, went straight to work. And that, when I look back, definitely served a purpose in forming me. Was what I was doing in aerospace, I think, my lifelong purpose? No. But did
Hmm.
it help me get to where I am today? Hell yes, because without that, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing today, for sure. So when I did jump and I changed careers, at the time, and I've shared this before, where, that's when I kind of really got into fitness. I started learning about nutrition. I started competing too. I was competing for like a couple years, I think, by that point. Um, what I learned at that time was, for me, I really felt like fitness saved me. And I know that, like I said, it kind of sounds dramatic, but I just really felt like it saved me. That for me at that time, I think I turned 40, and I was just experiencing life in a completely different way. And I thought, wow, what an amazing thing it would be if I could help other women see that they could do whatever the hell they want. It doesn't matter how old they are. It doesn't matter if they're going through a divorce or have been divorced and they have kids, and all these things that I think society sometimes can put on us as labels, as far as like putting us in our place, and that you can only do so much. I just really felt this at that time. I remember just feeling like, well, maybe there's something in fitness or something that, is my purpose. And so I kind of got into the whole, designing activewear. And because I thought, well, I love fashion and I love fitness, so this has got to be my purpose. And kind of like you said, I think at that time I was really trying to force it a little bit. Like I had to find something, because I did have responsibilities. I needed to like do something. I couldn't just like, find myself and take 6 months off. Um, but then that also served its purpose, because it got me into learning more about nutrition, and then this possibility of, hey, you can actually coach women and people, how to get healthier and stay healthy for the rest of their lives. And when I learned that, it felt like things just started to come full circle, where before I felt like my life was in these segments. Like, okay, I had my aerospace life, I had my college life, I had my married life. And then everything started to come together. And I started realizing, like, wow, all of those aspects of my life just give me those tools and that skill set to connect with more women, to basically help more women like just level up. And I think for me, when I look back now, and now in hindsight, it's like it's easy to see that all those things that I went through, it makes sense. But at the time, I was like, what the F? Like
Mhm.
what am I doing?
Yeah.
And I just continually had this like, whether it was this just crazy ass dream, because I feel like sometimes I do feel like I'm batshit crazy. But I had this dream of being able to help other women, like help other women just feel amazing and know they're amazing and know that they have no limits, that they can do whatever the hell, like I said, whatever the hell they want. And I really wanted to be part of that, like part of someone's journey doing that. So that for me
Mhm.
is my purpose. I don't even know if I answered the question because that was so long, but
Yeah,
that for
no.
me is kind of how like it came. It was something that was for sure not forced. It evolved. But I think maybe that kind of dream pie in the sky thing was always kind of there for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's almost like, maybe if you didn't go into trying to design your own activewear,
Mhm.
maybe if you didn't do that, it wouldn't have led you to where you are today.
Oh
So it's
yeah.
almost like you tried that out and then you kind of found this isn't really for me. You
Hmm.
could technically label it as like a business fail, but really in
Hmm.
reality, it almost probably propelled you to where you are today. And
Yeah.
it made you actually find what you actually wanted to do. Because I think
Yeah.
a lot of people, if they start something, that they're passionate in and then it doesn't end up working out, then they get really discouraged and then they don't want to go and try and pursue something else.
Yeah.
And I think that it's just learn your lessons from, the things that you try.
Hmm.
And, if it's still something at the end of the day that you really want to do, just keep trying and see if that's, something that could actually end up working out.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. It's like, and I felt all those things. Like when I finally realized, like I said, you know what? Because when I did the whole activewear thing, I came up with these amazing designs, and I spent so much time. I put so much love into it, and it was hard to kind of let it go. So there's a part of me that's always like, I'm going to eventually go back to doing something like that. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
But it did teach me that. I guess it's being kind of tough when it comes to being an entrepreneur, that people will think you're crazy, and if you really do believe in something, even if you have to pivot some, you're like the only one who's going to be able to do that. And that was probably one of the hardest moments of my life too, is being in that position to be like, you know what, I'm choosing to kind of put this, whether it's on hold indefinitely or forever, and then pivot. And it was
Mhm.
hard because you feel like you're on the spot, like if you have to explain, well, what's going on now, and people on the outside that don't really know what's going on, they're just like, oh well, here she goes again, like here's her new thing or whatever. And you have to develop somewhat of a thick skin to that, because if you're clear on at least what your journey is, or what you're trying to go after, you've got to drown some of that stuff out and just kind of let it go. Otherwise, like you said, you're gonna fall to it and give up. And I
Mhm.
felt like in my soul, it was like, I don't know exactly what I need to be doing, but I know that I can't go back to what I was doing,
Mhm.
and I don't want to stop. So the only other choice was like keep it moving.
Mhm.
And so yeah, it's crazy though now to think back, and I remember on the back end, and starting off on that, on my journey, and just feeling the, like, in my hopeful like heart, just like, no, this is gonna be my one dream, and it's gonna work. I just need to work really hard. I know I have to work hard. I'm not afraid of hard work, but I know if I just work really hard, this will happen for me. And I think that maybe that's part of the challenge of finding purpose, is like we put our hope into, like, or all of our eggs into like one basket. And
Mhm.
and maybe that's the mistake, right? Instead of putting the basket in the results that may or may not happen, it's really putting them like back with us, and just knowing that, all right, I'm going to bet on me, and I'm going to show up, and I'm going to keep doing all the things that I need to do, so that no matter what, eventually it's going to be my day, and I'm going to win.
Mhm.
It might be a little different from what I dream about, like in my mind, but it very likely can be better too. So that's what I
Yeah.
hold on to.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that something that, we really kind of wanted to get across in this podcast is, we just both told our stories of how,
Mhm.
your journey kind of evolved into what it is. And mine kind of just, it didn't like fall in my lap, but it just kind of
Mhm.
was like, oh, maybe I should.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, we both weren't like sitting going, "Oh, what's my purpose? Like I need to find my purpose right now." And I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, you had that motivation of like, "Okay, I have a son, like I have responsibilities, I need to pay my bills."
Mm-hmm.
So obviously you have that motivation, but it both of our careers kind of just like happened. It wasn't like sitting there going, "Oh my gosh, I need to find what I need to do." And
Yeah.
because even when I was sitting there trying to find what I needed to do when I was in my early 20s, like, oh, I'm going to be a probation officer or I'm going to be a dental hygienist, right?
Yeah.
Like, hairstylist did not come into my mind at all.
Oh,
And here I
wow.
am 10 years into my, career, and I still love what I do. So I think the biggest thing that we really want to try to kind of get across is I think that if you're constantly trying to find your purpose, it's you're putting yourself in this scarcity mindset of not having
Mm,
something. If you're
right.
constantly trying to find something, it's just like, okay, I want to go out and I want to find a really cute red crop top to wear to this, party that I'm going tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go out and you try and find this red crop top. Well, guess
Yeah.
what? How many times do you go out and you try and find something specific and you don't find it?
Now, like always happens. There might not be,
Exactly.
there's not even red in the store when you go like that, right? Sometimes
Right?
you walk in, there's like, why is there no red? Like,
Yeah. Is it not the season of red? Like, I don't understand why I'm not finding what
yeah.
I need to find. But then,
Uh-huh.
2 months later, you're just kind of walking around and you're, browsing around, and all of a sudden there's a red crop top, something exactly that you wanted to find.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's not so much about really like going out there and trying to find your purpose or your passion. It's
Mhm.
really, I think, just about finding yourself and finding, kind of sitting still with who you are. And
Mm.
I mean, sometimes it's almost like you have to like date yourself. It sounds weird.
Yeah.
It's almost like you have to date yourself. You have to ask yourself questions, because there's times where if I'm like I remember, clients would always ask me like, if there were new clients and they didn't really know who I was, they were like, "Oh, well, what do you like to do for fun?" And I would literally stop there and I would go, "I have no idea. What
I
what
have no
do I
fun.
like to do?" Yeah. Fun. Well, and then I would like sit there and I didn't really know. And I was just like, "Oh my gosh, that's so weird," right?
Oh
Or
my
someone
God.
asked me like, "What's your favorite genre of music?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I have no idea. Like, what do I listen to?" Right? So
Uh-huh.
it's like, how are you supposed to try and find your purpose and your passion, which is something that is so deep within yourself, if you can't even tell them what movie you like? What's
Yeah.
your
You're just
favorite
like,
movie, or what's your
you're,
favorite, what are your hobbies and your passions?
yeah, like
So
what energizes you? What like totally amps you when or you're
exactly.
doing something, you go somewhere and or maybe hanging out with a group of ladies or whatever, right? And you're volunteering, like it totally amps you. If you don't even have those experiences, and it's unfair, right, to demand that you would know what your entire purpose is for your life. That would be so much pressure.
Exactly. And that's why I think that a lot of younger people, they put too much pressure on themselves, right? Like they get out of high school and they're like, okay,
Yeah.
I need to, unless you absolutely know 100%, like I want to be a lawyer or I want to
Hmm.
be a doctor. And like you have to kind of start going to college for that.
Hmm.
But then some people, they just start going to the, college, and they don't really even know what they want to do. And then they end up wasting all, tens of thousands of dollars
Hmm.
like me. Like my mom kept pushing me to go to college. Well, just go and get your AA. And I'm like, well, what if, and what's really weird is I said this over 10 years ago. I
Yeah.
said, but what if I wanted to do something like, what if I wanted to go to culinary school? And then all this money that I'm putting into college, it's not gonna, I'm just gonna be wasting all this money and all this time going into
Hmm.
something that it isn't gonna matter if I end up going to culinary school, which is
Right.
crazy because at the time I didn't even like cooking and now I love it. So it's kind of crazy that I said that.
I
And I'm
know.
like, that just came into my mind. I'm like, that's so weird. Like, what
Because
if
you
I do end
change,
up?
you grow. I mean, like when you're
Yeah,
that young, I mean, you're so young, and it's hard to know exactly, what you want to do for the rest of your life. And you're right. There are some people who just know. They're just like, nope, I've known since I was a little kid. This is for me. And that's amazing. But, we're not all like that. And many of us have pivoted and have pivoted multiple times, trying to find that thing that just really energizes us and that we can actually like connect with and find that
yeah,
purpose. And there's like something to be said for having a purpose driven life. If we're able and willing, to kind of connect with that, it just makes the short time that we have here so much more, I don't know, meaningful, at least for me.
Definitely.
Having that purpose every day. It's like if you're going to be here as much as possible, I know there's a lot of stuff that we don't like doing, but we have to do every day. But if we can enjoy what we're doing as our career or job or what have you, that's the way that I want to live.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is why, I made that pivot of, leaving a very safe career. I mean, it was great. There was nothing necessarily negative about it. It was just it was not my purpose. I felt like I was just that there was something more for me, so much more for me, and it wasn't there. I just felt like more and more I was losing like my essence being there. And I was like, I can't keep doing this. There's no way.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, you can look at, young people trying to tell them like, don't rush into it. But then you can also look at
Mm,
people who have been in the industry, in an industry for 20 years. And then you could also look at it like, okay, well, you can't focus too much on, oh, well, I've been doing this for 20 years. I can't just like pivot and make a whole, I can't just like follow another
yeah.
passion. And it's like you can though. That's the thing is like a lot of people think that it's too
Mm,
late. They get into their 40s or their 50s, which really in this day, I mean, it's you're not old. Um,
yeah.
People are living longer and people are retiring at a way later age. And so it's like you could look at it at two different ways. It's like you could look at it as like you're young and you have time, but
Hmm.
then also too, it's like just because you've been doing something for 20 years doesn't mean that you can't completely pivot just like you did. I mean, it's
Yeah.
you're living two different lives in one lifetime, and who knows what else you could be doing too.
I
So
know.
it's like you don't have to live one life. If you have another passion, go out and find that passion.
Mhm.
So obviously like you found your passion in nutrition and being a weight loss coach.
Mhm.
So say someone finds their passion, right? They find their
Yeah.
passion and they know where they want to go. So, obviously I've only done my one career.
Mhm.
I mean, what would you say like is good advice for someone who, if they find their passion, then how do you jump into it? Because for you, you were in
Yeah.
aerospace for 20 years and then you pivoted and you went into your passion. Like
Yeah.
what advice would you give to people?
Oh, I would say that like the way I did it is probably the rare way and maybe not the most ideal. Like I literally, left my career. There was no transition. Like I was kind of doing part-time and then did this other thing. It was just like a cut. Now, the reason I was able to do that though is at that time, which was for me, it was like a sign from God because they had opened up this voluntary leave program. And normally that program wasn't for anybody under, I believe it was like 55 or something like that. But this particular time they opened it to all ages. And so that was like the first time ever. So I remember thinking, I'm going to apply for this and see if they even consider me because my boss was so against it. Like I would tell you this when I applied for it and he saw that I put my name in the list, he was like, "Are you fucking kidding me? Like, where are you going?" Because
Yeah.
I felt like I was doing 5 jobs there. But for me, there was something internal, like in my gut, that just said, this is a sign. This is a sign for you to take a step. And it was scary every step of the way. Anyway, what I'm saying is that's why for me, it was a lot more conducive for me to like just make this huge leap where some people, like I say, do more of a transition. I would say if for someone who, let's say they have a full-time job and career, but their passion is elsewhere, I would say that what my advice to them would be spend time in your passion. You remember doing this maybe in not so much of a formal way, but I've heard this other like, leaders in this type of, industry and, career and mindset and stuff like that. They talk about how if you devote even 30 minutes every morning to your passion, just working a little bit, in that thing that you love so much and what it will take for you to develop, and if it is grow a business or maybe it's making your website or working on your blog, whatever it might be, spending 30 minutes every day to help develop that will help you also learn more about what it is that your purpose is. And with that work and that consistency, eventually it opens you up to things that you just don't even know are available. I mean, I'm a big believer in the law of attraction. And so, like the things that you think and that you manifest and the energy that you put out there. So, that energy that you're putting into this work every day, 30 minutes a day, let's say in the morning, you get up a half hour earlier to do this. the more you put that energy out there, you're opening up doors for things to come back to you that you wouldn't have if you weren't spending time doing that. So that would be my, I think, transitionary step would be, short of just taking the leap like I did, spend time on your purpose every day. Like if it's that, if it is your purpose, you can find time and you can carve some time out to spend, every day or maybe 5 days a week, something like that, something that makes sense for you to start to outline what it is to get you from where you are, point A, to point B with your purpose. That would be
Yeah.
my main tip right there.
And really also too, I think while you're doing that, I think it's really important to pay attention to how you're feeling, because if
Mm.
you're feeling like doing this is work, you know what I mean? If you're
Mhm.
feeling like spending time in your passion is like, oh, here we go again. I got to do this again, then
Mhm.
that's probably not your purpose. Pay attention to how you're
Mhm.
feeling internally, to really see if like that's an
Mm.
actual passion or if that's just like kind of a hobby that you're
Yeah.
thinking about.
Right? Because I said earlier on our podcast, we talked about how your body doesn't lie. The way your body reacts to things. Are you feeling amped up and energized? I mean, you're going to have to do things that aren't necessarily fun all the time, like the tedious stuff. But overall, is the thing that you're going after, is that the thing that amps you up? And if so, then yeah, you're on course. But if not, maybe there's a little bit more pivoting that you need to do, and don't be scared to do that. I think like we were talking about also where we feel like if we're not right the first time, then we're just wrong altogether, and try to not let that get in the way of your trying to go after it.
Yeah. And I think also too, I mean, I'm totally guilty of this, but I think way too many people end up over analyzing and overthinking it, right? Because it's
Mm-hmm.
like, if you think about like, say being a hairstylist, like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
I want to be a hairstylist. And then you think about, oh, well, I have to do 1,800 hours of schooling and then I have to take my state boards and then I have to do this and then I have to do that. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like people kind of overthink it and then just think like they don't really focus on, the end goal. They just think about all the little details of what it's going to take to kind of get there. And then
Oh,
when you become a hairstylist, then you have to build your clientele. Then you have to try and find out, do you want to
yeah.
assist or do you want to go, straight into behind the chair?
Mm-hmm.
So I think people just overanalyze and they take way too many time, they take way too much time overthinking about the little details. Cause,
Mm-hmm.
even at the end of the day, if you end up like doing what you really want to do, but then there's like a lot of paperwork that you have to do or a lot of filing or budgeting or whatever it may be, you can also
Mm-hmm.
outsource those things too. So
Right.
I think people just spend way too much time. It's like they think about their passion and their purpose and they're super energized by it, but then they start overthinking it and then they're like, oh, and then they almost talk themselves out of it, right?
Oh,
Um,
for sure.
even thinking, I could have, being a hairstylist, I could have thought, oh, well, this market is so saturated. You know, there's a
Mm-hmm.
ton of people that go to beauty school, but there's even less people that actually end up doing it professionally. But yet there's still so many salons and so many hairstylists out there.
Right.
You go out and you find a ton. You're not going to find a ton that are amazing.
Yeah.
Sorry to say, but if I let that kind of hold me back,
Mm-hmm.
then I never would have ended up doing it. And I never would have ended up in
Mm-hmm.
my passion and feeling what I feel every single day,
Yeah.
being behind the chair and seeing my clients smile. I literally had a woman cry the other day because
No way.
yeah, like
You're so happy.
she was so happy. She was going to a wedding and she was
Oh,
just visiting the area and she hit me up and was like, "Hey, like, would you be able to style my hair? And I have some extensions." I guess her hair had kind of fallen out from like hormones and stuff, and
oh.
it wasn't shiny and healthy looking like, like it used to be. And you could tell she was very self-conscious about it. I did her hair and I put her extensions in and I turned around and I showed her and she looked at it in the mirror and she literally started crying.
She
And
was
I'm
like,
like,
oh my God.
that's why I do what I do. Still 10
Yeah.
years in, I'm still, and if I would have let those little voices in my head even my family didn't even seem that supportive. Even my mom was like, "Oh, you want to be a hairstylist? Like, okay, that's cool."
Yeah.
I think she's obviously very proud of me now because I've come so far.
Right.
But if I would have, if I would have let all those little voices and other people's voices kind of get inside my head, and if I would have let
Mhm.
my own self talk myself out of doing what I wanted to do, I wouldn't have made that woman cry and I wouldn't have felt the way that I felt.
Oh,
So I think it's really important for people to find their passion, but also don't chase it, because if I was chasing my passion, I would probably be a dental hygienist right now.
right.
And I would not be
I'd be an
happy.
accountant.
Exactly.
That leads me to,
Exactly.
I feel like I have to say one more thing because you were
Yeah.
hitting on this over and over. What's really important is that how finding your passion, yes, but really in the process of doing that, finding your voice. You talked about how sometimes we get so caught up in the analysis of all the things, like I need a website, I need all these logistics, right, to be in business or to do all the things. But really, the advice that I would share would be really hone in and find your voice because that's what makes you special. In the gazillion hairstylists out there, there's only one Clarissa, right? In the gazillion nutritionists out there, there's only one BK. And
Mhm.
I feel like if I can convey on at least one person to just hone in on that, like really work on that, whether it's building yourself up, working on that self-confidence that your shit, like like you're in the zone of genius and owning that and finding your voice, I feel like all that other stuff will eventually come to you.
Yeah.
Because that's who it's so once you get clear on who you are and your voice and what is your kind of your thing, it's almost like you can actually create your own niche, and then the people that resonate with your message will come to you, right? You're not going to have to like search so hard. It's like you just being true to yourself and putting your voice out there, and then those people that respond to it and connect with it, those are your people, that's your tribe, those are the ones that you want. So yeah, that would be I guess the second thing would be just really working on getting in touch with your voice and what you stand for, and and being, I guess, confident and having the courage to put it out there.
Yeah. And it's not easy too. I mean, I think that's a big thing. I'm sure it wasn't easy for you. It definitely
Mhm.
wasn't easy for me getting into the beauty industry.
Mm-mm.
But as long as you don't get discouraged and let that stop you, because if
Mhm.
I would have, you know, if I would have, I take a look back and I'm like, wow, I was making no money at all. Like,
Yeah.
and then I'm just like, wow, if I would have just kind of gotten discouraged and stopped doing what
Mhm.
what I really truly love,
Mhm.
I wouldn't be where I am today. So I think
Yeah.
that just really, I think it's very important to find your passion,
Mhm.
but don't force it and stop trying to find it so much and really try and look into yourself and find your voice, like you said. I think that's super important.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I don't know. I think that's the overall like the gist of what we wanted to convey today. I think we hit it on the nose, and we were talking about, okay, what do we want to make sure that our listeners get out of this episode? And I think we really hit it nail on the head today, or at least as far as what the things that we talked about. Is there anything else that you feel like, okay, we can't leave this episode without saying this one thing? Is there anything that sticks out to you before we wrap it up?
I think just the biggest thing is really just follow your heart and stop letting your brain talk you out of things is my like biggest thing. Like just follow your heart, follow your passion, and stop self-sabotaging like our last
Yeah.
episode.
Stop self-sabotaging, stick to your goals. We're going to go through the whole season one, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, just listen to all of our other episodes and you'll be good.
Exactly. Yeah. Listen to episodes 1 through 14 and you'll be good.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
no, I think this was an amazing end to season 1,
Oh my God. I know.
and I'm so excited for season 2.
I know. Me too. So, you guys, if you haven't already, make sure go back to the rest of season one's episodes. We've got 15 altogether. We are going to take a short break, but we're going to come right back with season two with more helpful topics to help you level up in life, personal relationships, things like that. We are super excited for that. But in the meantime, Clarissa and I are out. See you guys.
See you guys in season 2.